A Shawnee Mission educator lands in the national spotlight for her outstanding work. Students give it their all as a new athletics program brings district-wide competition back to the middle schools. The Broadmoor Bistro finds an exceptional way to celebrate a decade of culinary excellence. And we'll find out why a NASA launch is a dream come true for a Shawnee Mission student. It's all ahead on this episode of Spotlight on Shawnee Mission. Welcome to Spotlight on Shawnee Mission. I'm your host, Leigh Anne Neal. A mysterious assembly at Shawnee Mission Northwest ended with a very big payoff. The all-school assembly began with the band and cheer squad getting the crowd fired up. They didn't know exactly why they'd been called together, but they probably guessed something unusual was afoot.
We heard about this great school and your staff, your administrators.
The first hint of what was ahead came from special guest Jane Foley, who told the group that she had traveled all the way from California to Shawnee Mission Northwest for a very special reason.
Research and our own personal experience tell us that the single most important education element determining how much you will learn in school is the quality of the educator you encounter. But one of the best educators in the entire country is here, in your school.
Then she told those gathered that someone in the audience was the recipient of one of the biggest education awards in the country, the Milkin Educator Award. So what comes with this honor?
The first thing the educator gets is one big surprise. Because you can't apply, we don't accept nominations, you don't find us, we find you. We look, we search, we go all over the country to find the best of the best.
Northwest, 32 educators in the country have been selected to receive the 2011 Milkin Educator Honors. And at Shawnee Mission Northwest,
the Milkin Educator Award goes to Lisa Gruman!
While Associate Principal Lisa Gruman absorbed the good news, U.S. Congressman Kevin Yoder had a few words for the winner.
Teachers made a huge difference in my life, and the things you're doing every day here at this school are making a difference in the lives of all these kids. So thank you so much for what you do, and from D.C. to Kansas City, we're very proud of you this morning.
Next, it was time for the brand new Milkin educator to address the crowd.
I am so very privileged to work with all of the teachers and staff here at Northwest and my fellow administrators. It is truly a team effort, and I am very grateful to work with each and every one of you every day. And I feel like I could not receive this recognition without all of you and your contribution to make Northwest the best place to be and the best school. So thank you.
As soon as the assembly ended, Gruman made an all-important call to let her husband know what had happened.
Okay, well, we had the big assembly that I told you about, the surprise assembly, and the award was that I was the Milkin recipient for recognizing excellent educators.
As a Milkin National Educator, Gruman receives an unrestricted cash award of $25,000.
I think it's very fitting because she is honestly amazing. One of the first things that comes to mind is I just see her all the time. Like, she's at every game. She's really helpful if you have questions. She stands in the cafeteria line and talks to all different students. And she's just amazing.
You know, when you love your job and you really truly love the people that you work with, to receive a recognition like this is just, it's above and beyond. It's amazing. So I'm just so overwhelmed.
Gruman joins the Milkin Educator Network, a group of more than 2,500 distinguished educators. This year, there are new athletic opportunities in the district's middle schools. Up next, reviving intramural athletics in Shawnee Mission.
I'm Elizabeth Erickson, and I read the book Extra Credit by Andrew Clements. This book is about a girl in America, Abby, and a boy in Afghanistan, Sadid. This book is interesting because Abby and Sadid, the main characters, are pen pals, and you can read the letters in the book. This book is exciting because Sadid is not supposed to be writing letters to a girl, much less a girl in America, and you don't know if he's in danger. I rate this book 4 out of 5 stars because it was interesting to read, but they didn't include the main character's friends as much as I wanted them to.
Welcome back. District's 7th and 8th graders are putting on their game faces as intramural competition returns to Shawnee Mission Middle Schools.
7th grade girls towards the starting line.
At Indian Woods, cross-country runners step to the starting line to face off against competitors from each of the district's 5 middle schools.
Go, 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 ladies, go!
We've had an intramural program going for the entire fall semester, and each school gets to select their top 10 runners in each grade and each gender to compete in today's race.
Runner, sit!
With separate races for boys and girls in both grades, when students weren't competing, they had time to cheer on their peers as they pushed toward the final finish line of the season.
It's exciting to be out here. It's exciting to see parents and students and administrators come together on a very, very cold afternoon and just support running, support cross-country, and more than anything, support the kids at the middle schools and their chance to compete.
While cross-country is the focus for the day, the coach believes students have learned other important lessons too.
Okay, this is really cheesy, but it's true. As long as you think you can do good, you will do good.
We've taught the kids about healthy nutrition. We've taught them a little bit about moderate exercise and how many times a week. We encourage the kids to run outside of the times that we meet for intramurals, and it gives students and it gives them an opportunity to really explore that side of things when they might not have a team, a sport, a coach, someone that's knowledgeable in that to guide them.
Cross country is one of 9 intramural sports being offered in Shawnee Mission Middle Schools throughout the year.
Approximately 3 years ago, because of finances, that we had to do away with intramurals. And so this year the board was very gracious in allowing us to reinitiate the intramural program and allow us to have competition between the 5 middle schools.
It was the Battle of the Gridiron for middle school athletes who met at Trail Ridge. Girls took on girls and boys challenged boys in the district's flag football competition. The boys showed they could finesse the football when it came to passing the ball. And not to be outdone, the girls proved they could also handle themselves on the field. But perhaps the biggest competition of the day wasn't even on the field of play, but rather in sideline school spirit.
Kids, they love it. They love cheering on the team, they love playing, it's a huge competition. It's a definite win for middle school.
No matter the sport, educators wanted students to see the common thread.
Hopefully it helps with school spirit, teaches them competition, you know, lets them be on a team and know what it means to be a team member.
Throughout the year, middle school students will also have an opportunity to compete in kickball, wiffle ball, volleyball, table tennis, basketball, soccer, and disc golf. Move over, CSI and NCIS. There's a class at Shawnee Mission East that's teaching students the real science of crime investigation. Examining blood spatter. It's just a typical day in Jennifer Davis' forensic science class. But unlike popular TV crime dramas, she doesn't expect students to have it all figured out in an hour.
They see it all on CSI on TV, and it lets them kind of see that that's not exactly what happens and that it does take a lot longer, and you make one mistake and it could affect someone else's life.
Forensic science is one of the core classes in the district's legal studies signature program. Davis says while some students come into her class with some misconceptions, others are exactly where they want to be.
I have about half that think that we're going to do CSI stuff, which we do. It's just the real way instead of what they do on TV. And I have about half that actually want to go into this as their field of study. So it kind of gives them an opportunity to see what they would actually be doing.
Davis tries to make the course as realistic as possible, pulling many of the case studies from real scenarios or crimes. Students also have an opportunity to learn about a variety of crime scene evidence.
We basically do fingerprints, blood, hair fiber, DNA, soil analysis. It gives them just kind of a taste of everything.
Okay, so that would be a loop. And is it going towards your pinky or your thumb?
For fingerprint analysis, you could say students' real-life data is, well, right at their fingertips. And it's a learning process where everyone gets their hands a little dirty.
Right now I'm looking for ridge characteristics, which would which are patterns in the fingerprint which stand out, and each person has a bunch of unique ridge characteristics, and that's what you use to match up fingerprints.
There's a lot more of actual science behind it. It's not just like looking at it and being able to tell. There are actual like types of fingerprints. It's not like everyone knows that they have a different fingerprint, but there's a lot of defining factors that make fingerprints different, which I had no idea.
Even if forensic science isn't quite as flashy as it's portrayed on TV, students still see great value in this class.
I think it's essential because if you're going to go into criminal law, and if you want to do defensive justice, and there are new-time lawyers that go into these firms that have no idea about the forensic science, and forensic science could make or break your case.
While forensic science is required for students in the Legal Studies Signature Program, students don't have to be in the program to take it, as long as they meet the prerequisites. Broadmoor's award-winning culinary program celebrates 10 years of success with a special reunion. We'll take you to the party next. Plus, some elementary students find out what pizza making can teach them about food safety when Spotlight on Shawnee Mission returns. What do Legos and food safety have in common? Everything, if you're on a First Lego League team. This year's problem challenges competitors to find ways to make food safer using a robot that they build. Before they take on the Legos Food Factor Challenge, this team from Trailwood Elementary decided to learn a little about food safety itself. Lucky for them, there's a food safety expert at K-State's campus in Olathe.
K-State Olathe has invited all of the Kansas City area First Lego League robotics teams to come out and learn about food safety. First Lego League each year has a theme, and this year's theme is food safety. So the K-State Kitchen has set this up for the kids to have a great learning opportunity. They're putting what they've learned to use by making pizzas, which they then get to eat before we go home.
The students met with Brian Severance, who manages food programs and services. He started them off with a primer on food safety and 4 key concepts.
Keeping clean, the chilling the food quickly, cooking to proper temperatures, and keeping the raw and the ready-to-eat food separate. They take those 4 concepts away, they'll be able to apply those not only to the robots thing, but through life.
Next, it was time to move into the kitchen for a real-life lesson that started where else but with hairnets, washing hands, and donning aprons. Each student was given a job in the simulated pizza production line. From measuring flour to manning the mixer, each got a chance to see how food safety plays an important role in food production.
I learned a lot about bacteria and food safety and stuff.
And also a little bit about proportioning dough for the pizza crust.
How big is that?
4.5 ounces.
That's good enough.
Okay.
So between 4 and 4.5 ounces. You're gonna do that. You're gonna keep this in one hand, weigh with one hand, set it down here.
Got it.
Okay?
From there, the students moved on to the next step.
I roll the dough out
know
so
dough?
then it's the right size for the pizzas.
Then it was time to apply sauce, cheese, and pepperoni as desired before the pizzas were placed into a 350-degree oven. So let's ask these food safety students, why do we need to cook it?
Because it can grow mold or grow horrible bacteria easily.
So did you learn any ways to keep bacteria from growing so quickly?
You could either do it by freezing it to death or burning it to death.
That's sort of the idea.
Looking mighty good.
Now it's time to turn the pizza for even baking. And finally, after all the kitchen prep and food safety lessons, it was time to eat. While the students sampled their hard work, they also reviewed what they had learned.
I learned that germ population could go up to 20 minutes, like double it for 20 minutes.
Double every 20 minutes. What do we call that? We call that exponential growth.
Chef Brian has done a great job of showing them from start to finish really how our food gets from farm through the processing facility to the table and how it should be kept proper along the way to make it safe to eat.
A group of chefs recently returned to their roots for a unique evening of dining at the Broadmoor Bistro. The kitchen at Broadmoor Technical Center was packed with current students and chef alumni preparing a 5-course meal to be served to bistro guests. The event was Broadmoor's first annual homecoming, held in celebration of a decade of culinary education.
For me, this is really, really exciting to spend the day and to remember who they were 10 years ago, but more importantly, to get the education today from my students. So, thank you.
Current students worked with the chef alumni, including Broadmoor culinary instructor Justin Hoffman and chefs Brad Kilgore and Joe West to prepare the special meal.
I really want to watch their techniques because obviously as a first year we need to learn like knife skills. Like for example, yesterday we were cutting up parsley and we were cutting it, but it was taking like a long time. And so Brad came over and he showed us how he was cutting, and his cutting's like really fast.
They're all really good out back there. They want to learn, they're asking questions, what's this, what's that, and they're really, really into it. It's really cool to see at such a young age. I'm gonna have some competition in a few years.
The chance to work and talk with Chef Kilgore was inspiring to Jesus Ladrone.
It kind of helped me just focus and get in the right direction, because at this point I didn't know what I was going to do after Broadmoor. I'm kind of lost after that. So, I mean, having him kind of step in and put me in the right path it helped.
Since the guest chefs are Broadmoor culinary graduates, Chef Bob Brassard says they really connect to his current students.
Brad and Justin and Joe have a really great sense of patience with them and understanding where they're at, because they actually had those feelings at some point. So it's kind of casual, and they're getting the things done, and the students are asking questions, and the whole point of this is to make sure that the chefs are approachable when they're here, because it could be just a casual conversation that might be insightful to the student, future where they may be going. So I think that's been great.
Culinary instructor Justin Hoffman, who also happens to be a Broadmoor graduate, says letting his students work with the pros helps him.
They work with Bob and myself on a day-to-day basis, so it kind of gets monotonous or mundane for them. So they might not believe everything we're telling them like it's true. But then other chefs come in from the industry and they can reiterate all the lessons that we've been teaching and show them that what we're saying is realistic. But to have them come in and share their own experiences and give them their details kind of just reiterates the whole program and what we're doing here.
In the dining room, the evening began with hors d'oeuvres served by Superintendent Gene Johnson and district administrators.
How good?
Chef Brassard says the experience brought back great memories and also gave him a chance to learn new techniques from his former students.
For me, it's really exciting because I'm actually learning, and that's the new modern type of cuisine and where it's going. And both Joe and Brad have brought a variety of cooking techniques and ingredients that I wouldn't normally see as an educator or be able to do at Broadmoor. So that has made it a full circle of education, where I first taught them, and now they're coming back and they're actually introducing some new things to me.
Chef West now serves as sous chef at Blue Stem Restaurant in Kansas City, and Chef Kilgore works at the Mandarin Oriental in Miami. Up next, a Shawnee Mission freshman gets an out-of-this-world experience when Spotlight on Shawnee Mission returns.
Hi, my name is Isis Prez, and I read the book The Mostly True Adventures of Homer P. Fig by Robin Philbrick. This book is about a courageous boy during the Civil War working to save his brother, who was illegally sold to the Union Army by their mean-spirited guardian. Harold, although taught not to lie, will stretch the truth to its advantage. What trouble will this 11-year-old boy get into? Read this book to find out. I rate this book 5.5 stars out of 5 stars because of the hilarious but sometimes sad plot that you won't be able to put down.
Welcome back. Several years ago, NASA had a big surprise for a Shawnee Mission 6th grader.
3, 2, 1, main engine start, 0, and liftoff of the Atlas V with Curiosity.
The space agency picked Clara Ma's suggestion for the name of its newest rover. Now, Curiosity is on its way to Mars. So we wanted to check back in with Clara, who is now a freshman at Shawnee Mission East. Clara, hi.
Hi.
What has it been, about 3 years since we met
3
last?
years.
And you are a freshman now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to kind of take a little tour back in history. Take us back to 6th grade. You were at Sunflower Elementary, and you had a pretty fabulous opportunity. Can you remind our viewers what that was?
Yeah, I think it was, I had finished my work early in science, and then I grabbed a magazine off the shelf, and it happened to be a Time for Kids, and I saw an article about the 2 Mars rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, and then a chance to enter a contest to name NASA's new Mars rover, and I had to do it. I went home, and then I wrote the essay, and then I sent it.
So the contest consisted of, you had to write an essay. Tell us a little bit about the essay, the process, and what you settled on for a name.
As I was reading the article, I immediately thought of Curiosity as a good candidate for the name. And it's just because Mars is such a mysterious planet, and I had so many questions about it, so Curiosity was good for me. And then the essay had to be, I think, 250 words long. It was really short, actually, but it didn't really take me that long to write it. So I think it was at night when I finished it, and I had my mom go put it in the mailbox for me because it was dark and it was scary. So, and then that was it.
So did you have any idea that when you put your little letter in the mailbox that NASA would call and say, "We love your name"?
I had no idea whatsoever, because this type of thing I never would have imagined would happen to me ever. I remember writing in my diary in 6th grade, I was like, I hope they pick my name, and then they actually did.
And what happened? They had something special at your school, if I remember correctly.
There was a special assembly, and it was so cool. There were 3D glasses and presentations and stuff.
And that was back when you were in 6th grade, so they sent you to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and gave you a tour, and you got to sign the rover at that point?
It was so cool. And then I met all of the engineers and scientists, and I think they're just so much cooler than I am. I did this small little thing, but they did this huge, they built Curiosity and designed Curiosity, and I think they're so amazing.
When you met them, what did they say to you? Because I would imagine they would say something to you about the name.
Yeah.
What did they say? What did they tell you?
I think they liked it, maybe, I hope.
I would think maybe it would have been inspiring to them.
Yeah.
You know, in their work.
I hope it was.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the space camp experience. What did you find there? How was that?
Going to space camp it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. There was a ton of teamwork involved. We flew an actual mission at the end. It was like an hour, and we were all laying there in the Falcon simulator. It was really realistic, and we had a mission to launch a satellite, and it was such a great experience, and a lot of teamwork involved, and I learned so much from it.
Did you take elements of that back, and have you utilized some of the strategies and some of that teamwork in your schoolwork since then?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helped me so much in working with other people and being a good listener.
Is science an area of study that is interesting to you?
Yes, definitely. I want to be a scientist when I grow up. I want to be an environmental scientist in particular.
Now, 3 years later, over the course of that time, you know, it's been a while. I mean, and you've done a lot of growing since then. But now they were finally ready to launch the rover. And tell us what you got to do.
They invited me to go to the launch with my family in Florida at Cape Canaveral. And I went to see the Kennedy Space Center, like the visitor center, and all of the exhibits they had, and that was really interesting. And the actual launch was so satisfying, and knowing that I had that little part in it just made it so much better.
What was the most exciting part of the launch for you?
The actual launch one, because it wasn't even delayed. It was just a picture-perfect launch. There were clouds above the actual launch pad, but there was a hole right where the rocket would go through. But I think it actually cleared up after, but it was so cool. They're such amazing people. I don't know how NASA manages to find such great people to work there.
Well, I bet they've got their eye on you. If they know that you're interested in science, they might even try to sway you from environmental to maybe aeronautical science, would be my guess. Well, you talked a little bit about some of the amazing mentors that you've had an opportunity to meet or to follow through that process. You yourself are quite a mentor for younger students. What might be some kind of words of advice or words of wisdom that you would share with younger students?
I think they should just always ask questions, never be afraid to ask questions, because being curious is one of the most vital things to learning, and just asking questions is a great way to go, and focusing on schoolwork.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Spotlight on Shawnee Mission. Join us again as we continue to feature the programs and people of Shawnee Mission who are helping guide students to success. Thank you for watching.